Lemon Industrials. Dear Ricky P., welcome to your inaugural day in the IT department. We have an exceptional project for you. The work is mysterious and important. The Macro Data Refinement Department, MDR, requires a terminal for their operations. You will be responsible for constructing this terminal for their use. Requirements: you must use the tempers of Kier. The departments are to be kept separate. The colors, fonts, and user experience will come from optics and design. MDR will be picking the scary numbers and collecting them into buckets of the tempers of Cure. The Perpetuity Wing contains statues, portraits, and other memorabilia of the Egan family members who have led the company throughout its history. Praise Kier. Mr. Milkshake. P.S. Welcome to the dev method. Alright, so I think to make this terminal, definitely going to use Rust, but I'm going to use U. We're going to do some WASM programming here, but we're just going to stick at the Rust level of it, and we'll actually be bundling and shipping that with Trunk. So these two tools here will be used with my Rust project here, and we're going to create this MDR terminal. Okay, so the first thing we need to do to get started is make sure we have Rust installed. Definitely already have that. Now we need to make sure we have WebAssembly target. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is create a new Rust project. So let's do cargo new Lemon Industrials. Okay, let's go into Lemon Industrials. All right, it's detecting that it's a Rust project. But again, let's check and see what kind of targets we have set up, because we're going to need something for WASM. Rust up target list. And yeah, okay, I see WASM 32 unknown installed. So that's good. That's a good first start. But if you didn't have it installed, you would use rust up target add WASM 32 unknown. All right. The other thing we're going to need here is trunk. So we could use cargo install locked trunk. All right, here we go. All right, it's in there. Let's just give it a try. We do trunk version. Okay, great. So now that we have everything set up, let's start making this into a monorepo. And if you take a look here, we have a cargo.toml file. Let me open this here like so. So we're not going to need the source. Let's get rid of that. But we'll go to cargo.toml. This isn't necessarily a package, but it's going to be a list of things in a workspace. And in order to make sure that we're building the entire workspace together with all of the different members, we're going to use a resolver equals 2. That way we don't get that pesky warning when it comes to building and running. Let's do members equals like so. And then we're going to add some of the members. So if we were to look back at the requirements, we would see that we're at least going to need some sort of MDR terminal. So let's do that. Cargo new MDR terminal. Okay. Now that is going to be our web application that we're going to build with U. So we're going to want to put the U dependencies in there as well. So this is what we have so far, but we're going to want to make a different package for macro data refinement for specific code for that. We're going to want some of the colors, fonts, and other UI stuff from optics and design. So here's what we have so far. We have what's going to be our web app is the terminal. Then we have optics and design, and we have macro data refinement. Oh, and the last one is we want the perpetuity wing. Okay, so now that we have that all settled, let's get the web project up and running, and let's make it convenient to then run the web server. So in this case, let's go here. So we have our main file, which is just the print hello world. That's not necessarily enough to get us going, so we're going to need the U dependency to go here. All right, so I'm going to use this version of U 0.21, and we're going to use this features, which is CSR. All right, let's just save that. Now, if we want to just check and make sure everything looks good, let's go back to our cargo toml. Yep, okay, so there are all of our members that we have added. But let's go ahead and do cargo check. All right. These are all these different dependencies that probably you has. Great, so everything worked out. We're ready to go. Now here's the thing. We have trunk installed, right? If I was to do trunk serve, which is the command to start the localhost server, we're gonna get some issues. Yeah, so first of all, we need an HTML file, so let's get that set up. Now, we don't want the HTML file at the root level of this monorepo. We actually want it at the MDR terminal level, so within here. Index.html. Awesome. All right, and if I open this file, I got something here I'm just gonna add in. And it's just a very simple HTML tag with a head and then with a body. So we just leave that empty like that. And we're gonna add a little title to the page. Right now it's gonna be called UApp, but we could change that to something else that we want. So again, if we do trunk serve, it's first looking in the current directory, and we still don't have that HTML file, so that's not gonna be what we wanna do. Let's get this in better shape so that we can easily run a command. So what I wish we could have is just cargo start, and it would start the terminal, and then we'd be all good to go. So let's see if we can get to that point. So in order to do this, what I'm actually gonna do, if I take a look at all these packages or all these different members of the monorepo, I'm actually gonna add one that's not necessarily going into the app, but something that's gonna be easier for me to develop locally. So I'm just gonna call this one start MDR terminal, and then we're gonna build our own Rust command to help start this project up at localhost. So cargo new start MDR terminal. Okay, great. Now let's go into that. We'll leave everything the way it is. We're just gonna use the standard library here. But again, we don't want the hello world, right? So real quickly, let's just take a look at how this works. I do cargo run and I do -p for like which package or which project. And in this case, it's the start MDR terminal, right? Okay, so it's got the hello world, but I don't necessarily want that. I want a command. So what we're gonna use is a command that we can get from the standard library, and it's gonna give us a status, and then we'll do our own checking to see if the exit status was good or not. So we'll do let status equals, and we're gonna get a command here. So let's do std process command. All right, so we have std process command. Now let's create a new command. So we do new, okay? And what's the program we're gonna run? It's gonna be trunk, okay? And one of the things that we wanna do is, which is the, what are the arguments? And it's just gonna be serve. And then we want current directory, and that's where we're gonna point to the MDR terminal, like so. And then we're gonna get the status of that. Then we say if it's not successful, then we're gonna do our own std process exit. We'll just do exit code status 1 for now. All right, and then the other thing I want to add here too is just an expectation, so it's automatically gonna unwrap this. So that's why that code on line 10 actually doesn't work right now. So we'll just say trunk should be able to serve the web app. I think that's what we want. And then from here, yeah, success. So if it's not a success, exit. So that's what we're gonna do. Oh, and then args, we actually just want this as arg. All right, so this is the final output. So it's create the new command, put the arg in there, that's just the first word, which is serve. Then we're gonna do current directory, which is MDR Terminal, so it goes to that package, then runs this command trunk serve. We're gonna get the status and run it. Let's just see what it looks like now. So at the bottom, I'm gonna run this cargo, and then I do run, and then I do -p again, start MDR terminal. Okay. Here it goes. All right, we got a local host. Let's just double check this in our web browser. All right, let's just open up the web inspector and make sure everything looks okay. Console. All right, yeah, I don't see any errors. So we're kind of on our way. But remember that HTML file I talked about earlier? So if we go back here, so again, that was the start of the MDR terminal. And then we went back up here to, let's see, MDR terminal, go to our source code in main. See how it's got like hello world? Yeah, so it's not really starting a U application. So we're gonna have to refactor that in a moment. But there's one last thing I wanna do to make this command for running the local server easier to use. So we're gonna use something that's called the cargo config, and we're gonna make it local to just this monorepo, and we're gonna shorten our command. So instead of doing cargo and then run -p start MDR terminal, it's a lot of words to type, we're gonna just use cargo start. So let's stop our local server there. Go back to the root of the monorepo. We're gonna add a new directory. So it's gonna be a dot directory. So cargo.cargo, and then config, and then this is a TOML file. Okay. Now in here, we're gonna use something called an alias. There are other things you can do here. There are other aliases that already exist. So like, for example, if we wanted to do a check like what we were doing before, I could have just written cargo C, and that would run cargo check. There's also cargo T, which would run test. But yeah, this is our own area to make our own aliases. So I'm gonna say start equals, and then whatever goes in this string is gonna be what comes after the word cargo. So this would be run -p start MDR terminal, like so. Okay, now let's just double check that this works. So now down below I do cargo start. Yeah, look at that. All right, cool. Now there's a couple of other things that we got to do to make this work because we aren't really getting a web page that we're looking for. But that's at least how we make some of our developer experience a little bit faster, a little bit easier to work with. There are other strategies to get something like this done, but this is what I found that works right out of the box. Pretty simple to follow. All right, let's get moving on. Let's do here. Let's get our U application actually up and running. We're gonna go to our main here, get rid of this line, and we're gonna do U. Notice this popping up in autocomplete because it's a module that's part of this package. And what we want is a renderer, okay? Now the next thing that comes after these two semicolons is actually gonna be some sort of like a generic. We're gonna make this a capital A app. We'll see that why we do that in a moment. But then we'll do new, and then we do render, like so. So this is what we need to get up and running with you, and that's gonna be pretty easy to do, but we can't run this application until we satisfy all the compiler errors. So let's make a new file. I'm gonna call this just app.rs. So now in here, I'm gonna make a functional component, like a React component that you might have seen in like a Node or a NPM project, but we're gonna use U to build this. So what do we need from you? So we're gonna need U function component. That's gonna be like an annotation that we use on our function. And the other thing we want is actually something that renders HTML. So there's a really nice macro, and then we can also get some types and other utilities there too. All right, so this is going to be a function that we use in the other file. So we're going to have to do pub fn, and we'll just call it app. It's going to return an HTML, just like this. So that's the idea. Now, the thing that we need to annotate on this is that we have a function component here, and we also want to give it that capital A. So that's why we do app there. That's kind of like the convention I like to follow, is like any reused components will start with a capital A, very similar to like what React.js wants you to do. So now here, we're going to do an implicit return with the HTML macro. All right, so what we'll do for now is just do hello world, like so. And if you are familiar with JSX, this might look like it's going to work, but we actually have to do something here. We can't just write the text as like a text node in here, like the hello world. So we actually have to put this in a str or a string. There we go, like that. Now, the other thing you might have been noticing is that my development environment is also saying, hey, we can't really analyze this file because it's not being included anywhere else. So let's go back here. And how do we get it in here? Well, we're gonna have to do mod app, okay, so that we declare that it's a module. Now we're gonna use app as a module, but we're gonna take, look at this, capital A app. All right. Now we should be good with compiler. Let's just do our check. Cargo C. Yeah, all right, cool. Everything seems to run and build. And that built for everything in the monorepo. So it's every single package. Now let's actually run. So cargo start. That's our new little shortcut we made, right? All right, looks like it's doing something. Now let's check our local host. Aha, here it is, hello world. All right, let's give it a little bit more HTML structure so that we're ready to go for the rest of the project. All right, so yeah, this, what I want here is gonna be not a div, but I'm gonna make this like the main content. So I'll give it main. And then I could put a footer or header in here too if I want to. There's a lot of different documentation on the syntax and how this works and how to even like inject values into here. But you know, one of the things that I wanted to do besides just put main here is I wanted to put in some sort of like H1, okay? And we're gonna call this MDR Terminal, okay? Now, as you notice, here's one of the issues that it comes up with. It says it expected a valid HTML element. So again, it's because it's not formatted like how we have hello world here. So let me take that out. And let's put this in a string, like so. And I don't have to just put it like that. I could actually put it in some sort of like variable here. So I'll just say text equals MDR terminal, like so. And then get rid of this, put in just text, and that will work too. So let's see that on our localhost website. Oh, I don't have the localhost server running. Let's just double check that we have that running again. Cargo start. All right, let's just double check. Oh, there it is, MDR terminal. So we're well on our way to get this out the door. Oh, look at that. It's about time to wrap up for the day. Better head to that elevator and get back to my Audi life. All right, guys, if you like this video, subscribe so that you can see more of where we're going with this project. And I hope you like the style. And otherwise, I'll see you later.